We have the first trailer for Stranger Things Tales from 85, so let's break it down. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and welcome back to another video. So today I am breaking down the official teaser trailer for Stranger Things Tales from 85. The teaser dropped earlier this morning, and we got the release date. I'm talking about that, some of the poster details, and of course, everything we see in this teaser. But before I do, hit that like button, comment down below your thoughts on this teaser, your predictions, your feelings on this show as a whole, and of course, subscribe and hit that notification bell to help reach my goal of 200,000 subscribers here on the channel. I mean, quite a bit. If you want extra content from the world of Stranger Things and beyond, Patreon is the place to be. My full watch-along reactions where you guys pull up the episode, sync up, and watch along with me for It Welcome to Derry are out right now. But considering we have a new trailer in the world of Stranger Things, I'm going to break it down just like I did with every trailer for Stranger Things Season 5. So here we go. And I want to preface by saying, if you didn't know, Stranger Things Tales from 85 is set in the winter of 1985 between the events of Season 2 and Season 3. So the first shot of the teaser is actually of the Palace Arcade and Family Video Building, which is one of the most iconic locations from all the other seasons. But the focus here is really on the Palace Arcade, which was most prominently featured in Season 2. It's actually where we first see the party in that season as they're all hanging out there having a good time. Snow is covering the building. In fact, there's snow all around, and this lets us know out the gate this season is 100% set in winter.
And winter is coming.
We then get a shot of the Wheeler house covered in snow. Good to be back in this iconic location once more. And inside, we see a picture frame of Mike and Eleven at the snowball from the Season 2 epilogue. Now, this, of course, is where we see them share a sweet dance and a kiss, a real standout moment from Eleven. And since this season of Tales from 85 takes place in the winter of 1985, this picture is really not that old, as it's from December of 1984. So this is only a few weeks to a month or so tops old. And even though this shot's not from the trailer and comes from the date announcement, we can actually see Mike picks this frame up and takes a look at it from the footage we got back on Stranger Things Day. Speaking of Eleven, we get a cool shot of her covering her 11 tattoo and answering the door at Hopper's cabin for none other than Mike himself. In fact, outside you can see Mike is with Max, Lucas, and Will, so the party's getting together for a hangout. And what I love about this is that we're going to be able to see the kids just being kids. A lot of times in these seasons we don't really have time for that, and so it'd be cool to see them all just hanging out being kids in Hawkins. It's funny because Mike and Elle share this awkward hello, and then Hopper enters frame, going full protective dad mode. Elle runs off to grab a coat, but we see Hopper tell Mike that if anything happens to her, these woods hide a lot of mistakes. And I imagine throughout this entire season that Mike and Eleven will be hanging out a lot more, becoming more and more in love, leading to Hopper's frustrations rising to the point of where we see him in Season 3. Now, we then see the kids riding their bikes through the streets of Hawkins. Notably missing, however, is Dustin, but it seems like he's going to be spending time with a certain someone, and that shouldn't surprise any of you. More on that later. As snow pours down, we see the water tower with Max and Lucas camped out up top. Lumax endgame being confirmed, by the way, makes my heart so full. Like, I don't have to jokingly say it anymore. I know they end up together, so the world is at peace. My heart is full. But Lucas does the sweetest thing here as he sees Max is missing a glove, so one of her hands is freezing cold, and so he takes his other glove and decides to share it with her as they both put one hand in the same glove. They're just so sweet, I can't handle it. He loves her so much, and he consistently has cared for her time and time again. They are endgame, literally, and I wouldn't have it any other way. The character I believe to be Mike is then seen sledding down a hill in a blizzard, and Mike Wheeler himself then begins a voiceover saying a big snowstorm is coming next week. That's when we will start the campaign. Again, it's great to see the kids being kids here, being excited for potential time off from school and planning their next campaign. But will that campaign actually be the setup for the events of this season? I'll get into that in a second. The trailer then shows Mike, Will, Dustin, Lucas, and Max all hanging out in the Hawkins Middle AV Club room. Of course, this is the same room we see them all in Season 2, Episode 3, when Dustin brings Dart to school and he ends up getting out. And that kind of seems to be their hangout spot at school, which I appreciate. We've seen them there in Season 1 and Season 2, so it's cool they're going back to their roots. The trailer then shows the text from the creators of Stranger Things, letting us know the Duffers are producers on the show. And we see the kids having a snowball fight, playing out in the snow, when something starts to move under the snow in the distance, setting up a monster that's up to no good. The next sequence of shots shows a beam of light in the woods lighting up the night sky as we see a man in a hazmat suit sprinting through the woods. My mind immediately went to Monsters, Inc. We have also seen this shot of him running around from the announcement back on Stranger Things Day last year. And he approaches what looks like a mutated demo dog or some sort of demo variant as he then sprays his flamethrower all around in hopes of exterminating it. And my take on this creature, along with all the other monsters we're going to see here in Tales from 85, is that they're man-made. They're all chemically created, in my opinion, and I believe that scientists were experimenting with Demodog remnants shots from like the tunnels or maybe Hawkins' lab where they all piled up, and these creatures are essentially zombified monster versions of demo dogs. So they're not connected to the hive mind. However, they still have the skin and body parts of demos, but they're mutated, if that makes sense. It's going to be fun to see how it all fits into the canon though, and I'll get into some more theories here in a second. The release date of April 23rd is then revealed, letting us know that all episodes will be out on Netflix that day. This also means there are going to be no volumes, which I'm excited about. I'm pretty anti-volume or parts. I like watching a season all at once, and it sounds like we're going to have that. Now, we don't know how many episodes this season will be, and we don't know how long the episodes will be, but if I had to guess, it'll probably be 8 to 10 episodes, around 30 to 40 minutes tops. But hey, we only have to wait a little over 2 months for a new season of Stranger Things TV. That's a win right there. Mike and Lucas then look on at the pumpkin patch from season 2, and I'm assuming this is Meryl's farm from season 2. We don't know for sure, as there were multiple pumpkin patches that got infested that season. We then see Max and Lucas walking around investigating what's going on here, and it seems like we could get more backstory and lore on why the pumpkins were rotting outside of just the tunnels existing beneath them. We could further the lore of season 2, and if that's what Tales from 85 is going to do, I'm all for it, adding more depth to things like that. Dustin then says a line, "Something from the upside down must have survived last year." Again, this is clearly referring to events from season 2, except I have a feeling this will just be a theory of Dustin's and could be like a snippet of dialogue from one of the signature popcorn moments when him and other characters are trying to predict or theorize what's actually going on in the world right now. Like when they're going full detective mode, trying to crack the case and figure out what's up. The kids gear up for an adventure with their backpack, flashlights, and walkies. We even see Dustin snap a picture and the Curiosity Voyager stickers on his camera. Love that little reference. As our characters approach a vine-like figure in the woods, Will says, "Looks like it's mutating," which to me provides even more evidence to the fact that these monsters in the show are man-made from a lab. If you remember, the poster shows a vine-like figure with a demo head, and I imagine that's what we see here on the ground as well. I kind of describe it as like a Venus flytrap meets a Demogorgon. But within the context of Stranger Things and the timeline of events, with the gate being closed at the end of season 2, it would make 100% sense for all these creatures to be man-made, or the byproduct of some sort of chemical experiment gone wrong. But this idea of how the monsters came to be would run the least risk of jeopardizing the canon or continuity of the timeline. We also get a glimpse at a new character, Nikki Baxter here, and she's rocking a pink mohawk hairdo. Mike's probably jealous. If you know, you know. But we don't know much about this character except for that she is one of the new additions to the cast in this season. The next shot shows a flashlight falling and hitting the ground as we see Max and Lucas look on at a pumpkin that is mutating out of the ground into a full-on pumpkin head monster. New Halloween decorations have been unlocked, and I'm sure this will be a Funko Pop, but it looks like a Demogorgon made out of vines, roots, and sticks with the head of a pumpkin. And if you look behind Lucas and Max, the whole entire field looks like monsters rising up out of the ground. And it was at this point on a rewatch of the trailer where it hit me that everything we see in this show could very well be a campaign. This season could just be the kids' imaginations running wild, as earlier in the trailer they even reference how they're going to be starting up a campaign when the big snowstorm comes to town. So this could be a way to still tell fun stories in Hawkins with our characters without going too crazy and running the risk of messing up any timelines. I kind of just find it a little hard to believe that our characters post season 2 saw an entire field of pumpkin monsters and other mutated creatures running around town, and they were never brought up again. Now, of course, I know this is a prequel, and sometimes in prequels things happen that weren't initially planned. Pretty much every prequel does that, but because of that, prequels are constrained to the timeline that already exists, and they can't go too crazy introducing these wild new concepts, because then it just gets messy. But if you pay attention, there's a green sky in the background when we see this pumpkin patch, so that kind of makes me think the kids are making it up as they go. And if you take into account the name of the show itself, right, Tales from 85, it lends itself to this entire show being made up stories or adventures that are just the kids' imaginations running wild. That way we can still see the kids hanging out during this break between season 2 and 3, going to the arcade, having snowball fights, but then when they sit down for the campaign, everything that follows is not real. It's just their made up stories or the campaign they've made, and they're just inserting themselves into the story, if that makes sense. It's just a thought I had because I do realize now, the more I sit with this, that if everything that happens in this show we're supposed to believe happened during the actual live action show, it would be a bit of a stretch. But again, there are multiple routes they could take. It could all be a D&D campaign, it could be one of Mike's stories that he's written, a fictionalized retelling of a childhood story, or it could just be chemical products cause this, and so it's not even that big of a deal because it's not connected to the Upside Down, if that makes sense. The trailer then shows us the best duo in the entire series, as we got Steve and Dustin back at it again, and they're being attacked by one of these vine demo creatures. Dustin is seen navigating as he has the map while Steve's driving, and it kind of seems like they're driving a truck similar to the Bradley's Big Buy truck that Murray drives around in season 5. We then see a hallway with green lighting, and Mike and Will are approached by another type of monster with a Demogorgon-looking hand. So at this point, multiple new monsters have been introduced, which is why I'm thinking it's got to be some sort of campaign, or again, one of Mike's books. However, the text pops up on screen saying something survived in 85, hinting at the possibility of something from the Upside Down still looming. So I'm really interested to see what angle this show takes. Are they fully committing to something that's canon and is going to change the show as we know it, or is this just going to be a campaign and they're messing with us with this text on screen? We then see what looks like the interior of an office building, and it hits the fan, wind is swirling everywhere. It immediately made me think of the shot from season 5 when the barrier of the bridge, aka the Upside Down, is damaged, and 11, Collie, and Hopper have to escape via a gate nearby, but the wind is whipping all around. Is this potentially showing a gate to another dimension opening, and that's where these monsters are coming from? They're not actually from the abyss, they're from somewhere else? We'll see. Will is then seen rocking like this mallet slash hammer, and he's standing toe to toe with some sort of mutated monster that looks like it has elements of the Mind Flayer and a Demogorgon, but if you pay attention to all these monsters, it looks like they're based in nature and have connection to plants or trees. So in a sense, the show could tackle environmentalism if it really wanted to, but we'll see what route they end up taking. The green mist underneath the creature kind of further shows to me that it could correlate to some sort of chemical experiment if they do want to go the route of everything that happens being canon. The kids are all then shown at what appears to be a sawmill as a huge explosion takes place and sends them all flying. A saw blade is about to hit Mike when 11 catches it and saves the day. However, she's being charged at by a new monster. It looks like a giant mutated rodent, some sort of possum maybe. I have no idea what it is really. And I really don't know what the hell's going on here, but it's insane. And it's also cool to see new locations unlocked in Hawkins, right? We had the water tower earlier, we got the sawmill. Where else are we going to go in Hawkins that we haven't been? I'm down to keep expanding the map. But after the Tales from 85 logo pops up on screen, we get a final moment where a girl tells Steve she's always had a crush on him, and he responds by saying, "I've always had a crush on you too, Nancy." She's shocked, and he quickly corrects himself by saying, "I meant Natalie." But it's a funny little bit here as Steve hasn't fully moved on from Nancy, as this is right after season 2, when he was with Nancy for a while and still definitely has feelings for her in this moment. It's a classic Freudian slip, if you will. I also have to mention that Steve's jacket here greatly resembles Max's jacket from season 4. Anyone else got that same feeling? And if you're wondering who's voicing Steve Harrington and you recognize that voice, it's because you might just. He's voiced by Broadway icon Jeremy Jordan. So in the back of my mind, and fingers crossed, maybe we'll get to hear Steve belt out some Newsies. A boy can dream. But that pretty much does it for the Tales from 85 teaser trailer. We got looks at the OG party together all again, exploring Hawkins, and I'm really just curious to see where this show fits in. Obviously, we know that it's between season 2 and season 3, but how much of it is going to be real? I assume that the setup for this show will involve the kids in Hawkins and a snowstorm comes to town, and that's all canon for sure, but is the main adventure of this show going to be made up, just the kids telling stories, or their D&D campaign itself? I think that would give us a healthy balance, right? Because in a sense, everything would be canon, right? The kids got together, played D&D, and that was the story they told, that was the game they played, but none of the events we see or these moments with these monsters have any impact on the main 5 seasons, if that makes sense. I'm going in open-minded, though, and I'm curious to see how the show plays out. With the Duffer brothers involved as executive producers, I imagine they're kind of overseeing the continuity of it all to make sure that nothing in this show could break the canon or mess up events or the timeline of the main show. But I trust that Stranger Things Tales from 85 should deliver a fun time back in the world of Hawkins, and we only have a little over 2 months to go, so we're about to be back with a new season of Stranger Things TV already. The world just feels right. But what do you guys make of the Stranger Things Tales from 85 teaser? Let me know in the comments down below and hit that like button. Subscribe, hit that notification bell, and be on the lookout for more videos coming very soon, including my future reactions to the rest of It Welcome to Derry. Had a lot of fun watching that. You won't want to miss those. But thank you guys as always for watching, and until next time, I'll see you on the other side of the Upside Down.